It was in Egypt, where the gods still marooned me, eager as I was to voyage home. I had failed, you see, to render them in full, flawless victims, and gods are always keen to see their rules obeyed. Now there's an island out in the ocean's heavy surge, well off the Egyptian coast. They call it Pharos. Far as a deep-sea ship can go in one day's sail with a whistling wind astern to drive her on. There's a snug harbour there, good landing beach where crews pull in, draw water up from the dark wells, then push their vessels off for passage out. But here the gods becalmed me 20 days, not a breach of the breeze ruffling out to sea, that speed a ship across the ocean's broad back. Now our rations would all have been consumed, our crew's stamina too, if one of the gods had not felt sorry for me, show me mercy. Eidothea, daughter of Proteus, that great power, the old man of the sea. My troubles must have moved her to the heart when she met me, trudging by myself without my men. They kept roaming round the beach day in, day out, fishing with twisted hooks, their bellies racked by hunger. She came right up to me, filled with questions. Are you a fool, stranger, soft in the head and lazy too? Do you let things slide because you like your pain? Here you are, cooped up on an island far too long, with no way out of it. None that you can find, while all your shipmates' spirits ebb away. So she prodded, and I replied at once, Let me tell you, goddess, whoever you are, I'm hardly landlocked here out of my own free will. It must have angered one of the deathless gods who rule the skies up there. You tell me, you immortals know it all, which one of you blocks my way here, keeps me from my voyage. How can I cross a swarming sea and reach home at last? And the glistening goddess reassured me warmly. Of course, my friend. I'll answer all your questions. Who haunts these parts? Proteus of Egypt. The immortal man, the old man of the sea who never lies, who sounds the deep in all its depths, Poseidon's servant. He's my father, they say. He gave me life, and he, if only you ambush him somehow and pin him down, will tell you the way to go, stages of your voyage, how you can cross the swarming sea and reach home at last. And he can tell you too, if you want to press him, you are a king, it seems, all that's occurred within your palace, good and bad, while you've been gone your long and painful way. Then you are the one, I quickly took her up. Show me the trick to trap this ancient power. Or he'll see or sense me first and slip away. It's hard for a mortal man to force a god. True, my friend, the glistening one agreed. And again I'll tell you all you need to know when the sun stands striding at high noon. Then up from the waves he comes, the old man of the sea who never lies. Under a west wind's gust that shrouds him round in shuddering dark swells, and once he's out on land, he heads for his bed of rest in deep hollow caves, and around him droves of seals. Sleek pups bred his lovely ocean lady, bed down too in a huddle, flopping up from the grey surf, giving off the sour reek of the salty ocean depths. I'll lead you there myself at the break of day, and couch you all for attack side by side. Choose 3 men from your crew, choose well, the best you've got aboard, the good decked hulls. Now I will tell you all the old wizard's tricks. First he will make his rounds and count the seals, and once he's checked their number, reviewed them all, down in their mists he'll lie like a shepherd with his flock. That's your moment. Soon as you see him bedded down, muster your heart and strength and hold him fast, wildly, as he writhes and fights you to escape. He'll try all kinds of escapes, twists and turns, into every beast that moves across the earth, transforming himself into water, superhuman fire. But you hold on for dear life, hug him all the harder, and when at last he begins to ask you questions, back in the shape you saw him sleep at first, relax your grip and set the old god free, and ask him outright, hero, which of the gods is up in arms against you. How can you cross the swarming sea and reach home at last? So she urged me, and under the breaking surf she dove as I went back to our squadron beached in sand, my heart a heaving storm at every step. Once I reached my ship, hauled up on shore, we made our meal, and the God-sent night came down. Then we slept at the sea's smooth shelving edge, when young dawn, with her rose-red fingers, shone once more. I set out down the coast of the wide-ranging sea, praying hard to the gods for all their help, taking with me 3 men I trusted most on every kind of mission. Eidothea, now, had slipped beneath the sea's engulfing folds, but back from the waves she came with our 4 sealskins, all freshly stripped, to deceive her father blind. She scooped out lurking places deep in the sand and sat there waiting as we approached her post. Then, couching us side by side, she flung a sealskin over each man's back. Now there was an ambush that would have overpowered us all, overpowering, true, the awful reek of all those sea-fed brutes. Who dreamed of bedding down with a monster of the deep? But the goddess sped to our rescue, found the cure with ambrosia, daubing it under each man's nose, that lovely scent. It drowned the creature's stench, so all morning we lay there waiting, spirits steeled, while seals came crowding, jostling out of the sea, and flopped down and rose, basking along the surf. High noon the old man emerged from the waves, and found his fat-fed seals, and made his rounds, counting them off, counting us, the first 4. But he had no inkling of all the fraud afoot. Then down he lay and slept. But we, with a battle cry, we rushed him, flung our arms around him. He'd lost nothing, the old rascal, none of his old cunning, quick techniques. First he shifted into a great bearded lion, then a serpent, a panther, a ramping wild boar, a torrent of water, a tree with soaring branch tops. But we held on for dear life, braving it out until at last that quick-change artist, the old wizard, began to weary of all this, and burst into rapid-fire questions. Which god, Menelaus, conspired with you to trap me in ambush? Seize me against my will. What on earth do you want? You know, old man, I countered now. Why put me off with questions? Here I am, cooped up on an island, far too long, and no way out of it. None that I can find, while my spirit ebbs away. But you tell me, you immortals know it all. Which one of you blocks my way here, keeps me from my voyage? How can I cross the swarming sea and reach home at last? How wrong you are, the seer shot back at once. You should have offered Zeus and the other gods a handsome sacrifice, then embarked, if you ever hoped for a rapid journey home across the wine-dark sea. It's not your destiny yet to see your loved ones reach your own grand house, your native land at last, not till you sail back through Egyptian waters. The great Nile, swelled by the rains of Zeus, and make a splendid rite to the deathless gods who rule the vaulting skies. Then, only then, will the gods grant you the voyage you desire. So he urged. Broke the heart inside me, having to double back on the mist-bound seas, back to Egypt. That long the painful way, nevertheless, I caught my breath and answered, That will do, old man, as you command, but tell me this as well, and leave out nothing. Did all the Achaeans reach home in the ships unharmed, all we left behind, Nestor and I, en route from Troy? Or did any die some cruel death by shipwreck, or die in the arms of loved ones once they'd wound down the long coil of war? And he lost no time in saying, Son of Atreus, why do you ask me that? Why do you need to know? Why probe my mind? You won't stay dry-eyed long, I warn you, once you have heard the whole story. Many of them were killed. Many survived as well. But only 2 who captained your bronze-armored units died on the way home. You know who died in the fighting. You were there yourself. One is still alive, held captive somewhere off in the endless seas. Ajax now went down with his long-oared fleet. First Poseidon drove him onto the cliffs of Gerae, looming cliffs, then saved him from the breakers, and have escaped his doom too, despite Athena's hate. He hadn't flung the brazen boast the mad blind fool. In the teeth of the gods, he bragged, I have escaped the ocean's sheer abyss. And Poseidon heard that frantic vaunt. The god grasped his trident in both his massive hands and struck the Graean headland. Hacked the rock in two. The giant stump stood fast, but the jagged spur where Ajax perched at first, the raving madman, toppling into the sea, it plunged him down, down, in the vast seething depths, and so he died, having drunk his fill of brine. Your brother, he somehow escaped that fate. Agamemnon got away in his beaked ships. Queen Hera pulled him through, but just as he came abreast of Malea's beetling cape, a hurricane snatched him up and swept him way off course, groaning, desperate, driving him over the fish-infested sea to the wild borderland where Thyestes made his home in the days of old, and his son Aegisthus lived now. But even from there a safe return seemed likely. Yes, the immortal swung the wind around to fair, and the victors sailed home. How he rejoiced! Proteus setting foot on his father's land once more. He took that native earth in hands and kissed it, hot tears flooding his eyes, so thrilled to see his land. But a watchman saw him too. From a lookout high above, a spy, cunning Aegisthus, stationed there, luring the man with 2 gold bars in payment. 1 whole year he'd watched, so the great king would not pass unseen, his fighting power intact for self-defense. The spy ran the news to his master's halls, and Aegisthus quickly set up his stealthy trap. Picking the 20 best recruits from town, he packed them in ambush at one end of the house. In the other he ordered the banquet, dressed and spread, and went to welcome the conquering hero Agamemnon. Went with team and chariot, and a mind aswarm with evil. Up from the shore he led the king. He ushered him in, suspecting nothing of all his doom. He feasted him well, then cut him down as man cuts down some ox at the trough. Not one of your brother's men at arms was left alive. None of Aegisthus's either. All killed in the palace. So Proteus said, and his story crushed my heart. I knelt down in the sand and wept. I had no desire to go on living and see the rising light of day. Once I'd had my fill of tears, and writhing there, the old man of the sea who never lies continued. No more now, Menelaus. How long must you weep? Withering tears, what good can come of tears? None I know of. Strive instead to return to your native country. Hurry home at once. Either you'll find the murderer still alive, or Orestes will have beaten you to the kill. You'll be in time to share the funeral feast. So he pressed, and I felt my heart, my old pride, for all my grieving glow once more in my chest, and asked the seer in a rush of winging words, those 2 I know now. Tell me the 3rd man's name, who is still alive, held captive off in the endless seas. Unless he's dead by now, I want to know the truth, though it grieves me all the more. Odysseus. The old prophet named the 3rd at once. Laertes' son, who makes his home in Ithaca. I saw him once, on an island, weeping live warm tears in the nymph Calypso's house. She holds him there by force. He has no way to voyage home to his own native land, no trim ships in reach, no crew to ply oars. Sent him scudding over the seas, brought back. But about your own destiny, Menelaus, dear to Zeus, it's not for you to die and meet your fate in the stallion land of Argos, no. The deathless ones will sweep you off to the world's end, the Elysian fields, where gold-haired Rhadamanthus waits, where life glides on in immortal ease for mortal man. No snow, no winter onslaught, never a downpour there, but night and day the ocean river sends up breezes, singing winds of the west, refreshing all mankind. All this because you are Helen's husband now. The gods count you the son-in-law of Zeus. So he divined. Down the breaking surf he dove as I went back to the ships with my brave men, my heart a rising tide at every step. Once I reached my craft hauled up on shore, we made our meal, and the God-sent night came down, and we slept at the sea's smooth, shelving edge. When young dawn with her rose-red fingers shone once more, we hauled the vessels over the sunlit breakers first, then stepped the masts amidships canvas brailed. The crews swung aboard, they sat to the oars in ranks, and in rhythm churned the water wide, with stroke on stroke. But went to the Nile, swelled by the rains of Zeus. I moored the ships and sacrificed in a splendid rite, and once I'd slaked the wrath of the everlasting gods, I'd raised a mound for Agamemnon, his undying glory. All this done, I set sail, and the gods sent me a stiff, following wind that sped me home. Home to the native land I love.